Every single one of us, I could guarantee, if we really got honest with ourselves, are doing things in our life that we know are not serving us. And I think for a lot of us, we tend to box these things and kind of stuff them because we're not ready to deal with them. In this episode, I sit down with Errin Smith. She is known as That Health Chick online, and she vulnerably shares her incredible story of how she was living in the health space, doing all the things that were supposedly super healthy, and really suffering quite badly as far as her health went. This is a journey of a woman who decided to unstuff that issue in her life, walk you through that process, and show what can actually happen on the other side. My goal is, with this interview, it encourages you to be brave enough to perhaps bring some of those things in ourselves to the outside surface to work on them, because the reality is they're not that scary when we bring them up. And Errin in this episode shares one main question that she asked herself that gave her all the answers. And I think we all can take a lot away from asking ourselves this one question. I can't wait to hear your feedback on this one. Enjoy. All right, Errin. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you for so many reasons. And the first that comes to mind is, one, I think there's so much alignment in our message about helping women really understand what it is that we're craving. I know you're going to share your story, which I love because, in the world of Instagram and filtered everything, I think showing the sides of us where we have all struggled is so relatable and important, because I think, at least from my perspective, I feel like we all see that we're not alone in our struggles. And to get some of the takeaways that worked for you, I know, regardless if the reason behind them is exactly synced up or not, like, women can get so much from the way that you are going to touch on what we crave and why we crave it, and how we can tap into actually tuning in and asking ourselves that question: what is it that I really want in this moment? So, Errin, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me. We've been wanting to do this forever. It's like Christmas morning. I'm so pumped. This is like me and you jam. This is our thing on Connection. And oh my gosh, it's so fun. So thank you. This is going to be great.
So, if anyone hops onto your Instagram, which is That Health Chick, beautiful page, doing all the fun things, showing your workouts. I love watching your wakeboarding on the boat, doing the cold plunge in Idaho, like, beautiful nature background. You could look at this page and be like, this chick has her life together. She's probably just always been that way, la, la, la. And then boom, I think what's so beautiful that you so openly share is, you're in the holistic health space. You've worked with some of the greatest out there, Dr. Zach Bush, Dr. Dan Pompa, some of our favorite humans. And you struggled with emotional eating. And I'm so looking forward to you sharing, it's 20 years of that and how you got to where you are, right? So I would love to hear kind of a bit of background on your story and how that got you to the place of your platform and your summit that you produced called What We Crave.
Yes, thank you. Which you are in as well, which I'm so excited. So, it's funny because you think, working in this health space, I have front row access to all these legends. I have everything figured out. And that's what makes, I think, this story so interesting and beautiful, is because I had the health, the protocols and the supplements, and I was missing everything else in the pie, the pie of life, right? And because I lost my health. I had a freak accident, almost died, had a grand mal seizure. I literally kissed death. And from that point on, I had gotten so passionate about health. So I went all in on health, brain health, and just every supplement, every protocol, every amazing thing you could ever put in your body from a health standpoint. And yet I had the blinders on, because health is not just supplements and nutrition. There's a whole other side that we're missing. And that's where I come in is, as a kid growing up. I'm going to tell a quick backstory because it all makes sense on what led me to What We Crave, which, again, everything in life always works out. It's our mess is our message. But listen to like my background. I grew up 1980s, watching Goonies, and, just like most of us, like, we didn't have cell phones. We were out playing. We had no internet. We had no Instagram to get anything from. And my parents were middle class, just Costco food was luxury food, right? Like, my typical dinner was overcooked piece of plain chicken with white bread and some fake butter and a salad with, romaine lettuce, or iceberg lettuce and some croutons and some Thousand Island dressing, right? Like that's what I grew up with. So I never knew what nourishment was from a whole food standpoint. Real nourishing food, had no clue. So of course my body was just constantly craving food as a kid all the time. And my mom was, we go to Costco, we got a big bin of red vines and, it's fat-free and fat-free Tootsie Rolls. And that was the fat-free era. So I grew up with fake butters and fake plastic mayo. I call it plastic mayo because it's basically what it is. No fat, right? So then you take a kid with no real nutrition, no fat, no nourishment, living off Costco, and fast food was luxury for me, right? So we were like rich. Like if you had fast food or Lunchables, like you were a rich kid, right? That was me. So then I'm already depleted on nutrition. Then I'm skinnier than I look sickly. Like I was a very late bloomer. So my dad was trying to bulk me up for basketball all the time. And Errin, you want to look normal? Well, we need to put some meat on your bones. So at a young age, I was wired to eat all the time to gain weight. I looked so sickly. Oh my gosh. People thought I was not healthy. Like something was wrong with me. And so I wanted to be normal, fit in, be liked by everyone at school, junior high, going through the awkward phase. So here I am eating as much as I can, shoveling it in. You can see the wiring starting to happen, right? So if I wasn't eating, that was not normal. I mean, it was normal for me to eat 24/7. So take those two things, fast forward into college where you binge eat all the time. You eat a pizza at midnight. I would inhale a colossal pizza, no big deal, because I was still in the mindset of, I need to continue to eat all the time because I still got to put on weight. Then you add on the freshman 2030. Then I moved to California where everyone's eating salads and they're all healthy. And so, I got to look like that. So I start eating salads and go vegan, lose all this weight. Then I lose my period. I went from extreme to extreme, and fast forwarding, trying to figure out health on my own. This is again before Instagram really popped up and there's access to things. Fast forwarding, I have this complete my health falls apart, freak accident, and then it leads me to Dr. Pompa and all these health experts. So I went all in on fasting and every supplement possible, and I never put anything else together. And to the point where I got so depleted, like I'm talking like beach sprints in the morning, spin class at night, being vegan, and so depleted, my adrenals tanked. And this was me as a young hustler in the health and wellness space, boss babe, saleswoman, business development in Southern California. Like I was go, 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 go all the time. Totally disconnected from myself, which we'll talk about. And then all of a sudden I discovered keto and all the lights come on and I am like, I feel amazing. I got my period back. Everyone needs to know about keto. And I start going all in on keto. And that's where the emotional binge eating started happening really, really bad, which is where what we crave came from. I was so disconnected from myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Even though I was working out really hard and on fire for my job at the time, I was disconnected from so many things. I had no boundaries. I was a doormat. I just would say, okay, I'll do whatever you need. You need me to work till 4 a.m. on a deadline last minute? Sure, no problem. I don't have any kids or a husband, and I'm a bad boss, and I can do it. And then I would just binge eat on keto, and I would because fat doesn't make you fat. And well, it's okay because it's organic, and it's okay because it's healthy. And I would binge eat on keto. Granted, there's some things there that I was missing too. I was doing keto wrong. And then I gained all the weight back. I would balloon up, balloon back, lose the weight fast, balloon up again, shrink, balloon up again, shrink, because I would fast it off. I call this shame fasting, because I was so in shame about where I was, lose the weight. And then because I was in ketosis, I have to like eat keto now. So then I would binge on keto, and I was stuck for 4 years binge eating on keto, because I wasn't looking at the emotional side of my life. I wasn't looking at my boundaries, my connection, anything. Like I was completely blind. That's when I started interviewing experts because I had all of them in my network. I started interviewing experts going, if I can just figure out what the heck is going on with me, maybe I can get to the bottom of this. If I can just learn why is my brain saying F it and I reach for the things and I eat all the things. If I can just figure out that, because I know better, I'm still doing it. I'm Miss Health Nut. I'm still doing it. What the crap is going on with me? Maybe I could figure this out. So that's what brought me to What We Crave. And I just started filming interviews to get myself out of my own mess. And 50 interviews later, What We Crave was born, and it's an online summit on the root causes of emotional eating and what it is we're actually really craving. And it actually has nothing to do with the food. It's everything else underneath it.
Well, I
Yeah.
love that. And I want to go right into that. And before we do that,
Yeah.
I want to zoom out a little bit because,
Yeah.
again, like I was saying in the beginning here, whether or not emotional eating or shame fasting or, binging is something that you have experienced or can align with, the underlying theme here is that we have all reached for outside in rather than going inside,
Yes.
right? So whether it's, blaming our life on somebody else or in the biohacking sphere, right? Like this is finally becoming a big part of the conversation is that we're missing the mark a little bit. I think we're replacing one outside in thing with another. And although I'm so thankful that, this way of lifestyle is getting increasingly popular because it saves so many people. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am
Totally.
today through neurological Lyme disease without fasting, without hyperbaric oxygen, sauna, all these things. And at the end of the day, I just want to be super clear. And I think this is where a women's voice is really powerful is that we remember that everything we actually have and need is in here, right?
Yep.
So not getting so uber focused on tracking our sleep. Did we get enough cold plunge? Did we get enough sauna? Did we get enough morning sunlight? Like obsessing over all this
Mhm.
stuff and actually tuning in, what is it that I need right now in this moment? Whether it's, do I actually want a cold plunge or is maybe the hormones that are flowing through my system right now tell me that's not the best choice for me and listening and tuning in because we've got to do things differently
Yep.
as females. So, I would love
100%.
to know from that incredible online summit that you did, and I know we'll link it so people can find it because, again, it's not just about the emotional eating, it's about what we crave and tuning into that. What were some of the root causes behind this disconnection that you found through those interviews with some of the experts?
There is so many. And I'll share sort of my top. As we know, we're not a one size fits all. Nobody fits in this perfect box. And my recipe is not the same for your recipe. But I do know that there are some big ones that if I would have known this, it would have saved me a lot of hassle, but it's okay because it's all perfect, right? But I'll just go through a few. So, number 1, this is going to seem like the most simple thing ever. But when I was doing keto, when I was binge eating on keto, I was doing way too much fat and not enough protein. And that, again, this is from a biological nutritional standpoint, not from the emotional. So we'll get into that. But protein and lifting weights. I was too much cardio, too much fat, and I was never full. And granted, I was never full from a lot of things, which we'll get to, but now I'm more carnivore and just higher protein from real food. I've completely changed how I look at diet anyways, but just nourishing with more protein from grass-fed beef, life-changing. I read the book Forever Strong by Gabrielle Lyon. Everyone needs to read that book talking about protein and muscle and how that's game changer for women. And she had a binge eating problem too. And she said, once I increased my protein, I could not believe from beef with saturated fat, she could not believe the difference. And I just thought, God, if every female could just have a grass-fed burger patty for breakfast with a lettuce wrap, maybe some avocado and a fried egg on top, have that for breakfast versus our yogurt and granola BS where we're just famished and have no real nutrition, we could literally change the binge eating problem in the United States and help women in 1,000 other ways with their health. So that one was huge. And I didn't think it was a big deal until I did it myself. And I've never felt so nourished and grounded and peaceful and calm. If I was eating chicken or like plant-based vegan powders, I was still hungry and just like, what else can I eat? I was constantly thinking about food. So that was huge. And it just, again, all these seem so simple, like it's got to be harder than that. But it's actually very simple, right? The next one, I would say sleep. Again, it seems so simple, but until you actually get deep sleep, good luck getting out of emotional eating. And again, as a mom, it's like, honey, I got 4 kids. I'm not sleeping tonight. 3 of them are sick. Like, I fully get that. My sister has told me that a million times. She's like, girl, just wait till you have kids. You will change. You will not be just say, oh, just get some sleep. But I did use Barton's upgraded formulas magnesium, which changed my life because I thought I was getting good sleep. And then I took Barton's magnesium because, we're supplement snobs. We know like the best of the products in the industry. Then I took his product and I actually got deep sleep and I could not believe the difference. So I wasn't using a sleep tracker. I just slept for the first time like I had never slept before, and it completely changed my cravings. Because obviously we know this, you don't get sleep, it affects your hormones, ghrelin, leptin, you're a bottomless pit. And that was me for a long time. Because it's, your diet could be perfect, but if you're not sleeping, good luck getting out of anything, right? We know this is baseline. So sleep was huge. And then hydration, salt. I was so depleted from spin class and doing 1,000 things a day and rushing women's syndrome. And I was completely dehydrated. I added in Redmond's Relight salt, cravings smashed, like it, because usually you're not hungry, you're just dehydrated. That's usually what it is, And women, we run around and put everybody else first and we get depleted. And so you got to fill up your gas tank. That's an easy hack. Again, cravings smashed, like amazing. Another one, I would say gut health. Obviously, these are common things I'm sure you talk about all the time with your audience, but gut health, Ion Gut Health from Dr. Zach Bush's product line, game changer. Because if your gut is leaking, your brain's leaking, your whole body is inflamed. And when obviously, this, your gut, you if that is not working, you're going to be depressed. You're not going to have the right neurotransmitters. Your mood's going to be off. And when our mood's bad, then we reach for the food, right? So fixing the gut, adding in neurotransmitter stabilizers like GABA, 5-HTP, ashwagandha, anything to reduce your stress. Again, just easy. These are very simple, easy hacks that you can do. And another one I would say is the rushing women's syndrome. Just, I wasn't breathing. I wasn't slowing down. I was going way too fast and had no boundaries, put everything else before myself. So by the time I would get home, I would just inhale food. Again, there's going to be seasons of life where you can't control that, where your mom might be in the hospital with a stroke and you got 4 kids and it's going to be crazy. But there are things you can do, like regulating your nervous system, breath work, the support with the supplements you can do to nourish yourself as much as possible, right? So those are a few things. And then another one was I was completely disconnected from my purpose, disconnected from myself, my body, God. Like I was pushing God away for a very long time because I had some beef with my dad and religion and growing up in a Christian household that was really not Christian. It was like the complete opposite. And so I had some beef with my dad, beef with God, and I didn't have any spiritual connection for a very long time. And so that's huge. Another one was I was working out of hotels and offices, working about 15 hours a day, no sunlight, all overhead blue light, sitting all day, like stressed out, high cortisol. I had no hugs. Wasn't having sex, wasn't dating anybody, completely isolated, disconnected from myself. So when you isolate, it's like your body's going to naturally turn to food to connect. And again, connection is everything. I interviewed Zach Bush and I asked him, what is it you think we're craving? And he said, you're craving you. You're craving yourself. You're craving a connection to yourself, and I'm like, wait, is that it? But it's like, the definition of that is so deep, but I was just completely disconnected from myself. From human connection, my spiritual connection, rest, self-love, boundaries, worth. I mean, all of that was out the door because I learned at a young age, put everybody before yourself and you come last. And so let's see, what else? I mean, I could go on and on.
I think what you're describing is like a very typical day in the life of many women. And again, it might look slightly different, right? It might be different beefs with different pieces of our family or relationships in our life that don't work or isolation. If it's not reaching for food, to cure all and put a Band-Aid over something, it's reaching for something else, right? It might be alcohol. It might
Yep.
be caffeine. It might be sugar. But like really be honest with yourself and think about what are we reaching for on the outside when really, like Zach Bush, I mean, if you guys listening have not yet followed Zach Bush, he is so articulate and beautiful. He's an MD that worked with people at end of life and in hospice, and he just really sees such a yummy spiritual connection to everything. I mean, you could
Oh,
just
yeah. You
go
fall in
down the
love with
rabbit
him.
hole.
I mean, let's be
But
honest, you
yeah,
fall in love with him. Yeah.
it's so yummy. Yeah, but
Yeah.
really, I mean, what he's doing when we fall
Yeah.
in love with these people in our lives, it's because there's something about them that reconnects us to ourselves.
Yep.
And so, what I want to take from this message of where you were and now apply it to where you are is, I would love to just walk through like, what is a day in the life of Errin now? And then let's talk about how you personally maybe bridge that gap to get to
Yeah.
what you're doing now. Because I know, I mean, I see a lot of sunshine, I see a lot of gratitude, I see a lot of balanced eating and harmonious living. So,
Yeah.
there's something that must have happened that made you make the switch. So we can
Mhm.
explore that as well.
Yeah. It took me a long time, but that's it all started with filming the interviews for What We Crave. And when you are interviewing 50 people and you start hearing the commonalities in your brain, it starts rewiring your brain like, oh, I'm missing this. Okay, how can I give that to myself? It was actually easier than I thought. It just took me a while to understand that you have to go inward, right? It's not about how much cold plunging have I done. And even though I'm all about it, I'm big time on all that, but it was all, no, you got to go inward, girl. Like what is going on in here? And that's a lot of the things I talk about with triggers with What We Crave is when I would get triggered, right? That always sparks emotional eating, like visceral response, go to the fridge, start eating and numbing. That's what I did for a very long time. And I would always point the finger at my boss. Well, she's a bitch and she did this and point. Then I interviewed a few experts and they just said, no, girl, you got to turn it on you. A trigger is where you have unfinished business, and triggers are a roadmap to where you are not healed and what that trigger is coming up because you're not giving it to yourself. So, for example, if I got mad at my boss for, hey, Errin, I need you to do this, and this has actually happened. I had to stay up till 4 a.m. to finish this thing on the 4th of July of all times, and I did it anyways because I couldn't say no, worth boundary issue. And I remember I got so mad at her. I was like, bah, 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 bah. And I was like, no, girl, wait. Where are your boundaries? Why can't you just say, no, I'm not able to do it tonight. I'll do it next week. What's going on in there? So as I'm interviewing all these experts and I'm learning these things, your brain naturally starts to wire and go, oh yeah, this is me. So when I started interviewing, I took every golden nugget that hit my soul and I just started implementing one by one. So for example, I left California and got to the mountains. I got into peace, nature, sunshine. I got back into hugs and love and connection with my family and just started dousing myself in nature. And oh my gosh, the simplest, easiest tool that just completely calms you down and gets you regrounded to yourself and reconnected to yourself, right? And I started there. Then I started sleeping. And then I started cooking from home because when you are no longer in California, there's no True Food Kitchen, there's no Greenleaf, there's no easy, food that has seed oils in it, right? You have to cook from home. I started cooking from home. Oh, Erin's not eating any seed oils. Oh, the inflammation's going down in her face and her body. I'm losing weight. Holy shit, I'm sleeping? I'm doing this. Wow, I'm making progress. Okay, let's keep going. So it was one thing at a time and it was all about nourishment. I wasn't weighing myself. I wasn't counting calories. It was just real food, up in the protein, not so much fat from no more keto cookies with erythritol, no more keto snacks. It was just real food, nourishment, get rid of the, not cooking with seed oils, not going out to eat, sleep, started working with a coach on my triggers and my stuff that I needed to work on, which was probably the biggest, I think, was why don't I have boundaries? Why do I do what I do? Where did I learn this as a kid? Where did I learn this with my parents and my upbringing and my surroundings and rewiring the limiting beliefs that I had around myself, around other people, and understanding that everything in life is happening for you, and getting out of the victim mindset and getting into an empowered mindset where, oh, I just lost that friend because I was standing up in my truth during COVID. Oh, that's okay. Like I know I got my own back, that's worth versus staying in a friendship that's toxic because you feel bad and you have codependency with them and you don't want to hurt their feelings, right? So I started the more I just kept asking, what else do I need to do? Things would just drop into my lap one by one by one. And it wasn't this huge mountain that I climbed in one day. It was one thing at a time over time. And I don't know if you saw my progress pictures in the guide I sent you. I looked dead inside. And that was the height of my career, knowing the height of what in the health space is that health check. And I was literally dead inside. And it was just one thing after another that brought me back to myself. And the deepest one was rewiring the brain. And I interviewed Ashley DeLello on that. It's just once you rewire those subconscious limiting beliefs and then you connect to yourself and you know your worth, that's when you're like, oh, I don't want to eat that, or, oh, I don't need to go do that toxic behavior or go out with a friend and drink alcohol. I'm just going to stay at home and sleep and read a book. Things just naturally start to change, and then it changes from the inside out. And that's simpler than most would think. Yeah.
All right, I got to interrupt this episode for just a minute here. I want to help you get to a place of changing how your days feel from the minute your feet hit the ground in the morning. I created a 31-day challenge where I'm going to help invite you. I'm going to be your accountability partner to changing up your morning routine. What you're going to do in this challenge is simply wake up 20 minutes earlier, 20 minutes before the world is awake and all your responsibilities are coming at you. And you are going to sit with yourself first. You are going to feed your soul first. This way, we fill up our own cups before we service everybody else all day. And we ensure that this happens before a crazy day gets started. I'm so excited to have you walk through this and watch how your life changes in just 31 days. To check out all the details, go to beinspiredmama.com/self-with. I'll see you there. I would say it's, what is it? It's not always easy, but it's very simple, right?
Yes.
And so I think there's so much there that you just shared. I mean, how many of us as women have shoved our voice in a relationship with a friend or in a conversation in a community, and we've just like bottled how we actually feel and showed up pretending to be someone else or pretending to be okay, or refused to say no, even though it's not something we wanted to do, work deadline or otherwise. There's so much we can all take from this. And I 100% agree with you. The power of going inward completely changes your life. And I want to make this a really easy thing so women can walk away with this with actual tangible steps. So let's walk through, because we all have shit and we bury it, and we are masters at burying it as women. And I think, at least when I started this process, I don't know if you can relate to this, but I was really scared. Like, I buried it. It's safe. Let's just leave it down there. My life is good, at least from the outside, like happy, whatever, fine. But I knew it could be better. It's scary to bring it up to the surface. It's scary to sit with it. But what I noticed is when I just started to do it, it wasn't as bad as I was making it out to be. Did you feel that?
Yes. 1000%. And I noticed that when I did go in and rewire the limiting beliefs around worth or whatever it was, something would shift in my world that's like a reward from God or the universe going, hey, girl, you showed up for yourself. I'm going to show up for you now. Okay, boom, next level. And I'm getting chills just even saying that right now. So it's actually, that's where the gold is when you get into it, there's a freaking treasure chest that unlocks the next level of your life. Oh my gosh, I'm like chilling from head to toe right now. I guess we're on the right track.
This is the gold. This is the gold of this interview. Yes.
Yes.
Like, I call them angel breadcrumbs. You take these bold moves.
Love
you
it.
say no to that thing that does not serve you. And guess what? You just made space for what does. And when it comes in, you are going to know it. And that makes the next step easier. Boom.
Oh my gosh.
That's how you do it.
I love that. I'm going to use that in the summit and quote you on that, because that was legendary. My Errinism is, if you show up for life, life will show up for you. So just by showing up in the act of going, okay, I know there's some stuff in there from childhood. Let's look at it. And then you work with a coach. I did EFT tapping and some other neuro like EMDR and a bunch of other rad, amazing natural techniques, and just instant, just tears, just releasing all of it. And then you feel like a different person after you integrate. And it's actually easier than you think. It doesn't require like this massive, like up level up, like digging up all this. It's just a little bit at a time. And your brain just clicks like, oh, okay, cool, got it. We rewired that. We rewired this. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And then you make those new neural pathways and you just start going. And then your life will change because your brain has changed. And it's so, yeah, it's just not being afraid to just go inward. That's all it is. Yeah.
And just again, to keep simplifying it, because I think this is so powerful. It's literally changed both of our lives.
Yep.
We have access to it. It's free, right?
Yep.
Obviously, tools are really important. So finding that health coach or finding that mental health support person, like definitely, this is educational purposes. I think sometimes when stuff gets brought up, people need a medical professional.
For sure.
I think that's key. I've worked with life coaches, business coaches my entire life.
Yep.
Like I have a once a week check-in to talk about all the things. And that has been huge for me. And then also, and I've heard you doing this as well, like asking yourself questions. So I had something yesterday. I was, in a situation. I'm going to be very vague here. I was in a situation and it was feeling a little sticky, icky. And after the situation, I could have easily been like, you know what would feel really good right now? And how can I pull myself out of this feeling? And instead, because I want women to picture like, what is this process actually like? Instead, I asked questions. I created space to ask questions, and not that you can always do it in the moment. Maybe it's later that night. Maybe it's the weekend. Maybe it's the next morning in your journal. But just like you said, Errin, like, what is it about this situation that, one I ask myself a lot is, when have I experienced this feeling before? What is this person bringing up in me? What is the lesson in this? Why is this feeling coming up? Right? So like turning it into ourselves. I mean, I was in a situation where I very easily could have been like, well, she's doing this and she's doing that. And I don't like how well, the reality is I was feeling things like that's on me. The next time we experience that trigger, that yuck feeling, ask yourself questions.
1,000%. I think I call it just to go off that, I call it the trigger gym. So if I get triggered, instead of me pushing it, we always want to push it away. And then that's when we start eating because we're trying to stuff it. I go, all right, let's go to the gym. Let's figure this out. I go for a walk and I just get the emotion to move out of my body, or else I'll totally, it's like that's emotional eating land. So I go out in nature, move the emotion, and then I just breathe, and then I journal, and then I go into it. What is this saying about me where I haven't given myself the love that I need? So one of my favorite podcasts is the To Be Magnetic podcast. And they actually talk about this. If you want to go deep into what the triggers mean from a manifestation standpoint, how the Lacey says it is you have asked that, you want to up level, you're ready for change, right? Like your soul craves it. Well, the triggers come up because life is trying to up level you. So it's saying, hey, we're going to bring this trigger to the surface so that you can look at it, so that you can heal it, because you are always going to be blocking yourself until you do. So let's look at the trigger, let's heal it, and then boom, we're going to manifest the next level of our life. So she actually says that triggers are a good thing. They're not a bad thing. It's just go into it and dismantle it, because life is literally just trying to up level you. And so when you see it that way, you're way more excited about it. Like, oh, so next time I got triggered a couple weeks ago by my sister, and something so little, but it triggered me. I'm like, oh yeah, we got another trigger. Let's go. Let's up level. All right. What does it say about me? Okay, I still have some codependency with my sister. Let's look into this and let's like rewire it, So I actually, it's a good thing instead of a bad thing, that we've kind of, I think society, oh, I'm so triggered. It's like, no, life's trying to get you to up level. Yeah.
I agree. I see it the same way. It's a ceiling, right? We're in a cap. Let's just go all the way there. Like, I really feel like we come back each time until we learn the lesson that is our path, our journey. And I think triggers are a part of that, and they're an opportunity. So whether you want to see that the way that I see that, like finding your life's purpose, to me, those triggers are, I hit a ceiling. And when I can break through the ceiling, I'm closer to my truest self. I'm closer to being here in complete alignment with my purpose. Yeah. And guess what? The closer we get there, it's not pushing through life anymore. We're being pulled.
Yes.
Right? Ooh. It's like, I can't even stop this trajectory. I mean, for me, that's my platform. Like, I am just, the more I do this, the more I step into this message, and it just pours out of me. Like, this is what we're here to do when we hit those triggers and we sit with them. It's just sitting with them. they're like a kid. Like you don't need to, think about if you have children and your children is sad or angry or whatever, like so much of the time we want to distract them out of it. No, like let them sit through it and just sit there with them. There's nothing that you have to do to fix it. It's the same thing. Like when it comes up for us, right? Just holding space for ourselves through it. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
so glad to hear all this from you.
Oh yeah, it's all it is just a little kid inside of us needs some love, and that's just crying out like, please just hug me for a second and let me just feel this. It's so easy because you wouldn't leave a crying kid on the street. You see, let's say your child is literally on the street crying. Would you just go, oh, just get over it, see you later, like let's go? No, you would grab this beautiful little kid, just hug him and squeeze him and love on him, be like, look them in the eyes and just wait till their tears and just love on them. We just have to give it to ourselves. And that's, yeah, one of the things we're really craving. So, yeah.
I love it. Okay, what else have you learned about, what we're craving? And maybe it sounds like creating a pause and a check-in is really powerful. So, what are things that you do now, Erin? Obviously, we talked about going inward, but other maybe
Yeah.
stopgaps that, there's
Yeah.
times when no matter how much work we're doing, right? No matter how much work we're doing, I think those patterns come up and those old neurosynapses and that knee-jerk reaction. So, what are other ways that you create that pause? For you, like you said, it used to be grabbing food. For someone else, it might be that glass of wine. It might be the alcohol. It might be a toxic relationship. It might be your phone. Hello.
Yes.
We all have that addiction.
Oh my
Like, this
gosh.
doesn't feel good. Let me get a quick hit of dopamine
Yep.
and look at my phone.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
what do you do to create that pause? And maybe what are you doing like in that pause to help switch
Mhm.
that pattern for you?
My little tool belt is definitely full of as many tools as I possibly can, and that's what the summit gives is every single tool you could need so that if you don't have this tool, because let's say you're in the hospital and your mom had a stroke, here's another tool, right? Just and you start to rewire your brain that you know what you need in the moment that you're in it, right? So again, learning breath work, that's the only way to pause is to learn how to breathe. Because when you can breathe and you can choose, right? And so for me, I wasn't even breathing, so I couldn't even choose. It was just go right to the thing. And I think the awareness is what I had to really people always said, "Oh, well girl, like you got to be aware." I'm like, "I'm aware. I'm aware. I'm totally aware." No, I wasn't. you know. So it's just it for me it was slowing down and knowing if I don't have a self-care a self-care process for myself every day, I know my not my weak spots, but I know my pitfalls. Once I figured out, okay, I will reach for the food if I do this, or I notice when I hang out with this person, or if I just started learning my own patterns, and because it's not going to be perfect for everybody. It's not the same, but I just noticed if I wake up in the morning and I go straight into my emails, I go straight into work, and I don't do my workout first, my everything just kind of it just my day just it's not in the energy of my best self. I can tell I slump. I have lower energy. I just am kind of not I'm just kind of like floating around life versus if I have intention in my day. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but I've realized that if I go to the gym first thing and I don't wait till the end of the day, that gets me going and my whole day shifts because of it. My mindset's different, my energy's different. So I now go to the gym at 6 a.m. and then I do all the things. But I notice when I'm done with the gym, I'm in my most grateful state. And that's when I can meditate the best and I have my most creative flow. So again, won't be perfect for everybody. But when I actually booked my class and I made it like a piece of my schedule, like I would an appointment or a call, right? Your kids have soccer practice. Great. Well, what are you doing for your schedule? Do you have your own soccer practice in your day? And that was again me in a self-worth thing where I had to go, I'm freaking worth it. I am worth an hour to get myself in the right space and to go after my dreams. And this is the one thing that gets me there that I just just feel amazing. So I booked the class, and that was before I wouldn't book it. I would just go, oh, I'll just do some weights at home. I never did it. So it was number one, I'm worth an hour, and booking it, going to it and holding myself accountable. And again, that's checking in with yourself and that's a boundary thing that it took me a long time to get there. And then I go into my day and I just make sure that I take breaks and I can cook from home and I don't go to restaurants. because of the seed oils, but because I love eating grass-fed beef. And I make sure I get sunlight in my eyeballs in the morning. All I do now is just I simplify. I don't have a crazy schedule. If I notice I'm starting to get like there's too many things going on, I immediately simplify and I say no to things. I just know that my day can only have this much. And when I go over the top, things get, I just have to start saying no more. And if I don't get nature, I don't get sleep, I don't get sunshine, and I don't lift weights and don't get adequate protein and hydration, like it just goes out the window. So again, with kids, one of my coaches said, if there's any gaps in your day, it's because you don't have a system in place for it. So once I got the system, and it wasn't like robotic, trying to feel, it was just, you go to gym at 6 a.m., you figure out a way to make that work. And you just, again, you put yourself first. I also, again, this is going to seem, maybe it's TMI, I don't know, but I haven't dated anyone in a really long time. I was in a very big injury that I had, and my bandwidth got really, it wasn't on my priority list. Healing was. And so again, that involves, okay, well, that means I'm not sleeping with anyone. I don't have that dopamine from the hugs, the human connection, the touch. And so I noticed when I would really slump big time, it was because I wasn't getting any physical human touch, like from a sex standpoint. So self-pleasure is something I think that women don't talk about. There's a lot of shame. And that's very healthy to have like a connection to yourself from a sexual standpoint. Once I added that, I noticed my cravings changed. I wasn't reaching for food because I had that connection to myself. And then also just even taking a shower, going right, get home from the gym, or let's say you don't go to the gym that day, but you take a shower, that will freaking change your energy like crazy. That's just a small, simple self-care tool that I noticed if I didn't take a shower, my blood would feel like just blah, and my energy would feel just kind of like ketchup, like you just don't feel like there's anything flowing. So sunshine, sex, and shower. Those are like my 3 S's. Make sure you get those in. And that was, again, I added those things in, and they weren't perfect every day, but I just added them in. I'm like, oh, I haven't had sex in a really long time. Oh my gosh, I just gave that to myself, and then I'm not craving the food. Wow. Like, okay, there's a major thing there that Errin was not looking at. And it wasn't like a crazy, it's just taking time to like connect with yourself. So
yeah, well, I hear a lot of things in there. I mean, I hear when we talk about daily routine, right? I think a lot of women could go right to our pain points of I don't have time, I don't have money, I can't get to the gym. We all have challenges, we all have struggles. And the reality is what I hear is a woman who decided you're worth it. And I think when we can get to that place, we can make time and we make systems, like you said, and we make it happen. And for everyone, it's going to look different. It might be literally 5 minutes in the morning. But when we can determine that we're worthy of doing this for ourselves, we're worthy of saying no and having boundaries so that we can carve out the space for ourselves, that's when this will happen. So how did you, most simply, what would you tell a woman who's maybe struggling with that part? Like, how did you get there? And I imagine it wasn't an overnight process.
No, but it started with worth, honestly, like from an emotional standpoint. Because if you don't think you're worth any of it, you'll never make it happen. And so for me, I started to connect, like the biggest, deepest root cause pillar for me was that I had just learned to put myself last. And once I reconnected from a spiritual standpoint to God, honestly, this is going to sound, go to church here for a hot minute. I'm not a religious person at all because I grew up in it. But when you start getting curious and you trip out on nature, this is where I got there. This is going to sound super out of the box, but it's not. It actually makes so much sense. When you start tripping out on how amazing your body is, the mechanisms that happen on every split second, and you really start tripping out on the magnificence of who you are. And I got there by going out into nature and going, oh my gosh, we're literally floating on a ball in the middle of space. What created that? That same power that created the earth that's floating in the middle of nothing and just gives us oxygen and all the things we need and food just comes out of the ground. And I'm made from the same unique power. I am here for a reason. I showed up for a reason. I'm not just floating around here. I didn't just, show up and I'm just here to just be a random human floating around. No, you showed up for a reason And you have the same power inside of you as freaking lightning and thunder, and everything in nature is you. And you start going, oh, I have something inside of me that I'm supposed to share with the world. Okay. Okay, this world needs me. All right, I've been through some stuff. That's my medicine for the world. Okay. Oh man, like I see my when you really start to see yourself as this magnificence wrapped in a little human flesh suit, you start appreciating and having so much gratitude for your body, you'll show up for it differently. It when you almost like me, I almost lost my health. I almost lost my life due to my health freak accident. You will appreciate and cherish every morsel of joy and love and every animals and hugs and life. You'll just appreciate it more. And then you show up differently because there's a reason you're here. And you, I think society has put so much BS on top of us that we have no power. We're just a random human floating in society. You just showed up to work and go to school and then retire and die and be in the system. And when you actually go, no, 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 I'm here for something, and you show up differently, that's all I did. It was just I tripped out on nature and then I tripped out on myself. And I finally see myself in a way that I never did before.
I love that. Sure it's out of the box, but it should be very much in the box. Whatever the box is, like that,
Right.
it's free, right? It's easy in that it's delicious. Like once you start getting those tidbits of how incredible we are, once we start getting away from this like scope of life that we're looking at, right? That we're looking down and zoom out. Like we are incredible beings. And I love that. I wasn't expecting that answer at all. You know, Zach Bush, we brought him up at the beginning of this interview. He's an incredible resource for that. Like you want to fall in love with yourself and your body and your
Yes.
physiology and your biology and your connection to something greater than yourself. Like go follow Dr. Zach Bush. That is not what I expected when I asked you how you got to your worth. And that is such a beautiful
Thank you.
way that everybody can access that.
Thank
Like, how
you.
could we not know we're worthy when you can understand that the same thing that created the universe is in all of us?
Yeah.
Like the power of the ocean and the trees and a seed turning into a huge tree, that's in us.
Yeah. I mean, I tripped out on this yesterday. A little seed can make a huge redwood tree. Like what? You know? And oh, we can just create a baby inside of us and it just naturally knows what to do and just comes out at 9 months and just fully functioning human. Like we are walking miracles. And I'm getting chills again. It's like that's from God, not in the religious God sense, but in the like the divine. And when you're like, okay, I'm ready to live my purpose, things will change and shift, and you show up for that, and it happened, but it always happens at the exact time you need it, at the right time, at the right place, in the season, in the layers that you need it. It's never just like, let me just give you everything at once. It's just here's your path. We're just gonna open another door and then another door and another door, and then somehow you land where you're supposed to be. I feel like that's with both of our stories. We thought we'd be over here and now we're way over here, and it's never been better because we just trusted and had that faith, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I don't know if this is because I'm a chiropractor, but I think it's all about alignment, right? So, like, chiropractic philosophy, and whether I landed there because that's what I resonated with anyway, is that we are born innately. I mean, look at a baby. Like, it is a miracle. Like, this life, like, just so much there, right? I don't need to go into details. We all know what I mean.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're born that way and we're so connected, whatever you call it, God, source, whatever you want to align with, like we are completely connected to that. And then over our lives, we accumulate stuff, right? In the natural keto health space, call it toxins. In traditional world, let's call it stress, like call it life, call it whatever you want, but that pulls us out of that alignment. And like Erin's saying, like when we can go out and trip out on nature, when we can, you know, maybe get some good information in our brain that reminds us how powerful we are, that alone will pull us back into that alignment. And that is when, I mean, you don't have to look for your purpose or why you're here. It's going to find you.
Chills. Yeah. Yep. No, it will find you. And I think for me, anyone listening, it's usually your greatest mess is usually your message. That's the medicine that you're supposed to bring to the world. What happened to me was this last year, I hit another rock bottom up level, you know, and I had to surrender another level of stuff. And it healed my relationship with my God, with my beef with God that I had. I've been working on it for a long time, but this was like the ultimate, like, all right, girl, it's time to heal this now. You've been working on it, but we're gonna like get you right at where you need to like really look at this. And when I finally reconnected, that was the biggest piece I think I was missing from emotional eating was I didn't have that warm, masculine, fatherly energy in my life, the protective, safe, loving, beautiful, unconditional, compassionate, just loving, beautiful energy that the God that I think not the religious God, but the divine that's in everything is right there if you just ask for it. And for me, I'd been asking to heal that side because I knew that's one of the big things of emotional eating is that spiritual connection. So life put me in a position to look at it and heal it. And once I did, it came unexpected in the most beautiful package, unexpected package. It came in a version of getting bit by a dog. Long story short, and I was able to. I lost a lot of things, and it forced me to get on my knees, literally in the sense, and ask for that beautiful fatherly masculine love to just help me through it and make me feel safe. And once I connected that again, like deeply, not just like, I'm just going to connect to it. It was like, no, it's infused in my cells now where I have there was some miracles that happened right after that I knew were from God that was like, hey girl, knock, knock. Like, I'm here. Just let me in. Please just let me in. I'm going to show you what to do next. Just let me in. I got you. I never did that. I pushed because I was pushing my dad away. I'd push God away. And when I finally just let that in, not only did miracles happen, but I repaired so many things that I felt finally full. Does that make sense? Like I felt finally like the hunger for the food was gone because I had healed the connection with God and I repaired that. Like the ultimate bulletproof of safety and peace. And that was a spiritual thing that my spiritual experience is going to be different than yours. That was the biggest sort of pillar in my life that it changed everything. And now that when you get bulletproofed with peace from a spiritual standpoint, from a connection to God, that's what will really heal that emotional eating because you're trying to connect with something that you just don't have. You want safety, you want peace, you want protection. When you feel unsafe in life, when life hits you and you feel like you're on your own, you're alone, you're not. If you just connect to God in the most beautiful way possible, again, not religious, that will feed you more than food ever will, for sure.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
so beautiful. Bulletproof with peace. You're finally full. I think that is such an incredible way to wrap this interview. I have one more question for you. I mean, this has been such a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
So I know in all your interviews of What We Crave, you asked all these incredible experts that you had access to one question. And I would love to know what that question is because you must have gotten so much great information from these beautiful minds you brought on.
Yes. The question is, at the end of the day, when we reach for the food and we crave what we crave, what is it that you think we're really craving? And that's what I ask every expert, and every answer is different and beautiful and always amazing. The answer, I think, my answer is similar to the Zach Bush. You're craving you, but which is God, essentially. And I never thought I would say that 10 years ago. I was so like not talking about God ever, 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 ever. And it was like, no, that's what it was. It was a deep spiritual connection to safety and peace and that everything's going to be okay. And essentially that's connection to yourself where you have to have your own back. I think also too, it's that you're just craving to feel alive. You know, and alive comes from connection to God. Feeling alive comes from a connection to purpose. Feeling alive comes from a connection to health. Feeling alive comes a connection to nature and purpose and people and community, not the Kardashians. You know what I mean? Like not mainstream media, right? And so, because if you think about it, when you are at a wedding and you're dancing at the reception and you feel alive, you're not thinking about food. When your favorite team is winning the Super Bowl and you're on the sidelines watching them play, you're not thinking about food. When you are watching your nephew, when you have a baby in front of you that was just born and you're snuggling with them, you're not thinking about food. It is a connection to feeling alive and peace and safety. And that is, but it really is feeling alive. But that comes from only you. You have to give that to yourself in all of those ways. And once you do, again, it's the quest to find peace, you know? And once you do, then emotional eating naturally heals itself.
Love it. So beautiful. So I love, become bulletproof with peace and then you're finally full. And what do we all actually crave? We crave connection with ourselves. Errin, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching on YouTube, we would love to hear your comments below. What's your takeaway? Maybe what are you going to incorporate next time you reach for food or alcohol or whatever it is that actually disconnects you rather than connecting you with yourself? As always, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And lastly, make sure to share this episode with a friend. I know you thought of someone when we were having this conversation. Go ahead and throw this episode her way so that she can get access to this information as well. Errin, loved my time with you.
Thank you, Melissa. And I can't wait for you to be on What We Crave. And just, oh man, it's just been so fun. Thank you for having me. Yay.
Amazing. We'll see you soon.